and it is an important day for Democrats and Republicans. It's caucus day in the state of Iowa. While there won't be presidential candidates to select, it's still important for both parties. A caucus is a series of local political meetings where registered members of the Democrat and Republican parties gather to talk about party business and show support for political candidates. Most often, a caucus is discussed during a presidential election, but important business actually happens in non-presidential years as well. For the Democrats, all 44 precinct seats in Woodbury County will meet at one location. Tonight's event is open to any registered Democrat in Woodbury County, but those who need to register or change party affiliation can also attend. Now, tonight's caucus focuses on county and state political candidates as they work toward the next presidential race in 2028.
Yeah, I really want to tell people that this is where you can turn some of your anxieties, what's happening out in the world, and you can turn that into action. I want to stress, we can control what we can control, and that's right here in our communities. And so I ask folks to come together and turn that anxiety into action.
Tonight's caucus for the Democrats is open to the public. All precincts will meet at the First Congregational United Church of Christ at 4600 Hamilton Boulevard in Sioux City. It all starts at 7 o'clock. Now, Republicans will also caucus tonight. They'll meet in several sites throughout the county. During the caucus, people can work together and discuss important issues in the state of Iowa. Now, this event will also build the foundation for upcoming elections.
Biggest part of these is to be able to put together ideas that can be postulated and put forward to the district, county, and then district, and then the state conventions for work that goes to the legislature, to Congress, to other forms of our government.
In Sioux City, there are 3 locations: West High School, North Middle School, and Rockland Conference Center at Western Iowa Tech. To find the address of your precinct, you can go to iowagop.org.